Hello, and welcome to 20 Lore Pro, a community of Lorcana players who enjoy deck building, competing, and opening Lorcana product. You can find out more at our Discord community, 20lorepro/Discord, link in the description. We have tons of upcoming events, deck lists, and deck discussions. In today's video, you'll be watching Evolutions Trading Lorcana 1K, the first 1K of the Into the Inklands season, featuring Mooseberry, piloting Emerald Amethyst, versus Drew, piloting Ruby Amethyst. Wish our competitors luck, and enjoy the video.
Today we are at Evolutions Trading, going into round 3 of 5, seeing Drew piloting Amethyst Ruby versus Mooseberry piloting Amethyst Emerald. We want to wish these two players luck and thank them so much for coming out today and being willing to play here on stream. I'm your host, SirAshtown. Behind the scenes is our producer, Luxac. We want to thank our producer so much for putting all the hard work that he does into the stream. If you miss any of the rounds in today's tournament, you can head on over to 20 Lore Pro YouTube. We'll have all of the rounds posted later on this week. We'll sit tight as players determine who is going to go first. Strong roll from Drew, who looks like he won the dice roll. Again, thank y'all so much for joining us here on Twitch. Feel free to follow and subscribe if you'd like to watch more Lorcana competitive content. 20 Lore Pro being your home for competitive Lorcana. We have tons of deck lists, deck discussions, and later on this week we'll have some booster box openings for tomorrow's video. Coming up tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Central Time, we will have a new YouTube video posted of opening up Into the Inklands. I'm excited to see this color pairing of Amethyst Emerald from Mooseberry. Really exciting to see this. I actually have not seen in competitive Lorcana a Amethyst Emerald deck be played. So this will be a real treat to see what Mooseberry brings from Into the Inkland that makes this color pairing competitive. Right now, both players being 2-0, meaning that Mooseberry has used this deck to success so far this 1K. Drew, I talked to him before the match began, talked to me a little bit about his deck, said that he had some strong tech using locations and some new cards that really could allow some powerful draws later on in the match. See if we can't see some of that come to light for him as Drew tries to come out on top. Again, thank you so much for joining us here on Twitch, and a big thank you to Evolutions Trading. We want to thank the community who's come out today to play as we try to see the competitive format of Into the Inklands. Here we go with round 3, game 1, Amethyst Emerald versus Amethyst Ruby. Drew on the play. Playing one of the new cards. Whenever it quests, you get to draw, but it's sent to the banish zone. Followers of... if I can find it. There it is. The Chernobog's Followers. As we're seeing the quest, you may banish it and draw a card. Drew opting not to. From Mooseberry's side, we see this new Curse Merfolk, 0/1, but it quests for 2. Whenever this character is challenged, your opponent discards a card. Here we see the 2-drop Ursula coming down, showing Mooseberry opting to take out a song, if able. Sometimes you don't have a target to choose, as we just saw. This 2-drop Ursula being so strong is able to act like a duress for Magic the Gathering. Looking at its opponent's hand, even if you don't get anything from your opponent, you're at least able to know what they have and plan your future turns out. Drew this time opting to quest with the Chernobog's followers and drawing off of it by banishing Chernobog's followers. Friend Zone Finn, I agree. I think the Emerald Steel pairing is a strong competitive color pairing for set 3. I'm excited to see, though, how Mooseberry uses this Amethyst Emerald pairing. There's always new tech to discover as we see these characters bring these cards to life. Mooseberry using a 3-drop Ursula. This being one of the strongest cards in Emerald, this set that gets brought into the Inklands. Drew using that evasive Minnie Mouse to quest, very similar to set 2 competitive scene. Here's that 3-drop Ursula up on the screen for you to see. Just whenever it sings a song, you're able to repeat that and then put it back in the bottom of your deck. Drew drawing a card off of his Merlin Rabbit. Will we see Amethyst Ruby, at least early on and maybe even later, continue to have strong showings as it did in set 2? Wow. Really the power of Ursula with Friends on the Other Side. Seeing that Ursula sing Friends, allowing him to draw 4 cards off of one sing. Really strong advantage there for Mooseberry as he's able to draw so many cards and gain a lot of resources. That is a really strong play for Mooseberry. When card advantage in games like this, having more cards in your hands really gives you the edge, allowing you to have the answers that you need when you need them. Mooseberry having plenty more in his hand to do that with. Mooseberry playing another Ursula along with a Merfolk. It's quite funny to see, and maybe correct to see Ursula alongside first Merfolk, as Ursula herself most likely being the one to curse them. Drew looking down a board of Ursulas and Merfolk, trying to find a way to utilize his hand the best, to find the best plays. Uses a Madam Fox to bounce back a rabbit, drawing a card. The Madam Fox, now poised to take out something, chooses to challenge and banish one of the Ursulas. Madam Fox, as many of us know, is a very strong character, able to have a rush and bounce a character back to your hand, such as Merlin Rabbit, able to draw you a card, but most of all having that 4/3 body, just making it so strong and being able to challenge so many different characters. There's that Madam Fox on the board for you. And here's a repeat play from Mooseberry, able to draw 4 cards with Friends on the Other Side being sung by Ursula. Now possibly one of the strongest singers in Emerald, if not the strongest singer. Really able to just give so much card advantage from Mooseberry, really seeing how this color combination of Amethyst Emerald is coming to a head, as Mooseberry is using it to draw 4 cards every time Ursula sings. Mooseberry playing that new Cloud Kicker that we see in Emerald. After round 2, I had to go and look and see what that card was. I hadn't seen it been played before. But we're seeing these Emerald decks start to play more of this Cloud Kicker. There he is up there on the screen for you to see, a 2/2. Whenever you play this character, you may return an opposing character with 2 attack or less to that player's hand. Inkable being very relevant. During set 2 competitive scene, we saw a lot of those Emerald decks having a lot of uninkables in their deck. Drew playing the new Jim Hawkins allows you to play locations and then traverse to them for free. Jim Hawkins just seeing a really big price spike right now as players are trying to figure out and strategize how to best utilize this card. Oh, and just as I had said, there is a RLS down on Drew's side of the board. Jim Hawkins saying that whenever you play this character, you may play a location of 4 or less for free. And whenever you play a location, Jim Hawkins traverses there for free. RLS being such a strong card, one of the new locations for Ruby, a 3/8 toughness, able to passively gain you 2 lore. Whenever a character's on there, they gain evasive, meaning that Jim Hawkins, a 4/4, now has evasive. And if you have a character here, you may pay 2 or less to move another character here. Jim Hawkins, being such a strong card, 4/4 with evasive, questing for 2, is now able to have evasive and quest freely. Mossberry using 2 Metamim Foxes to take out that location, dealing the 8 damage needed to get rid of it. That's something about having so many draws that we saw from Mooseberry. Once you've drawn 8 cards in 2 turns, you're able to really have the answers you need for anything that your opponent might play. Drew inking. Trying to decide the best line after having his location taken out from underneath Jim Hawkins. Hey, Manticore. This is actually one of the players from the Lorcana Bros group. Last round, Aaron being actual Lorcana Bros on 20 lore. This is Drew, one of the team members from that group of players. Drew appearing to play a updated Ruby Amethyst list. We saw him play a new location in RLS and Jim Hawkins to get it down for free. Mooseberry having drawn 8 cards in a matter of 2 turns, now has a lot of resources in his inkwell and in his hand. Using 4. Plays a Merlin Rabbit to draw some cards. Appears that this Amethyst Emerald deck has no problems with maintaining a high card count in their hand, using the Merlin Rabbit and ETBs and leaves to draw a card. Mooseberry deciding what he would like to do, chooses to quest, going up to 10. Drew with his 4 lore count, really trying to find a way to utilize the board and get back into this game. Plays his own Merlin Rabbit. Plays a Prince Eric, I believe, the new one, from Into the Inklands. Haven't seen this card be played yet. I'll see if I can pull it up here on the screen for us to view, while Mooseberry takes his turn. Mooseberry playing the new Amethyst location, the Queen's Castle, along with another Cursed Merfolk. Getting to see both of these players play several locations from Into the Inklands just shows the power of these cards. The Queen's Castle, at the start of your turn, for each character you have here at this location, you may draw a card. Right now, he's able to put all of his characters onto the Queen's Castle, meaning that at his turn, be able to draw 2 cards. Mooseberry really showing how this color pairing can be so strong. how all the updates from Into the Inklands has really changed some of the playing field in competitive Lorcana. Drew playing a Merlin Goat goes up one lore. Playing another RLS location and putting Jim Hawkins on there for free, giving Jim Hawkins evasion again. Jim Hawkins now having evasive allows him to quest for 2. Mooseberry drawing 3 for his turn because of having 2 characters on the Queen's Castle. Really has a lot of cards in hand, able to look and play the best cards needed at the right time. Mooseberry having so many cards in his hand, trying to find what the best line is. We're looking at Mooseberry at 12 to Drew's 7, trying to get to 20. Plays a Mother's Knows Best, sings it with Ursula to bounce 2 characters back to hand. Mother's Know Best in this situation appears to act as really just a bounce card that can really help you to put you ahead by requiring your opponent to have to replay them, utilizing all of their resources next turn. Mooseberry playing his own Merlin Goat. Bounces it with a Madam Fox and challenges Drew's Merlin Rabbit. We're seeing a lot of the incredible power that Amethyst and Emerald color pairing has at this point in the game. All the advantages that Mooseberry has been able to have due to all the draws that he's made. Trying to see a way for Drew to come back out of this. Goes up due to his location. Jim Hawkins has been pretty good so far due to the locations and playing them for free. Mooseberry able to take out one of them with the double mini Madam Mim Foxes. We're really seeing the power of the Queen's Castle on Mooseberry's side, as he's able to have 2 characters on it at one time, drawing 2 cards as upkeep. Drew at 10 lore, looking to make some big plays. You see a Merlin Goat in his hand, along with the friends on the other side. Merlin Rabbit. A really key point in this game, as Mooseberry has so many questers on his side of the board. Drew playing Merlin Crab to give Challenger 3 to his Prince, so that way he can challenge and get rid of that Ursula. And Spider, you were asking about the power of Jim Hawkins. We see Drew play a Jim Hawkins into an RLS. Jim Hawkins just able to play locations for free when he enters the battlefield. Drew plays the RLS, but doesn't see a way out from all of the lore that Mooseberry presents and gives him the fist bump. And that is game 1 of round 3. Mooseberry taking the win. Amethyst Emerald versus Amethyst Ruby. Going into game 2, Drew won the dice roll for game 1 and played first. That means this time Drew will be playing on the play again against Mooseberry's Amethyst Emerald. So far, we've seen some really great competitive Lorcana from these two players. You can't wait to see what happens here in Game 2 of Round 3. Players getting their mulligans in. So far, we've seen two strong cards in Ursula, the 3-drop. This Ursula, funny enough, the deceiver of all, being next to its cursed merfolk many times in this match on Mooseberry's side of the board. The cursed merfolk just able to quest for 2. Here's Drew with another turn 1 Chernobog followers. Chernobog followers just seeing a lot of play from these Amethyst Ruby decks. It's a May ability, not a must. And we saw that this was relevant during the first game, where Drew had quested with Chernobog's followers and chose not to banish it to draw a card. Drew this time opting to draw the extra card off the lore after seeing a Rafiki from Mooseberry. This Rafiki mystical fighter having Challenger, able to take out that Chernobog's followers if it stayed on the board any longer. Also able to deal with hyenas pretty well by having taken no damage when challenging them. That Challenger 3 being very relevant on a 1-drop inkable character. We see Mooseberry playing the 2-drop Ursula, which allows him to see his opponent's hand and take a song. That's only if there is a song to choose from, though. But Ursula just being very strong in this case. Ursula Deceiver just giving you the ability to look at your opponent's hand, allowing you to see what lines you need to play as the game goes on. Hey, like whatever, thank you for asking on Twitch. A 1K means the prize out of the tournament equals up to $1,000 in prizing. That can be prized out in money or in product. For the Hunter Burton Memorial coming up on March 17th here in Dallas, 20 Lore Pro will be hosting a 2-case tournament. 2 cases being the equivalent to about 1,000, making it a 1K. Mooseberry bouncing, using that fox to challenge and get rid of Drew's fox, making the boards equal. Drew playing a Merlin Rabbit, trying to gain some card advantage. Merlin Rabbit just seeing so much play in competitive set 2 Ruby Amethyst decks. We see here again really helping out Drew as he's able to draw a card when he ETBs and when he leaves. Mooseberry playing another Ursula Deceiver. Pass and back to his hand a Merlin Snake, bouncing the Ursula Deceiver. That's something about the Amethyst Emerald color pairing that we'll see, is that these bouncing characters really give you the ability to reuse Ursula to be able to look at your opponent's hand when you want to, giving you more options to take away songs later on in the match. Drew thinking about his play, he's got that Maleficent in hand. Decides to bounce the Merlin Rabbit with the Madam Fox to draw a card, pass his turn. Treasure 14, I agree. Sometimes when players get on the feature matches, they can sometimes miss the free quests that they have available. Drew in this case with the Merlin Rabbit, I believe he did quest before bouncing, but many players in the past have forgotten to do so. Mooseberry questing. He decides to use that Ursula that he had bounced earlier with the Metamim Snake to look at Drew's hand, finding no songs, but having more knowledge on what to do next. Mooseberry decides to bounce his other snake, giving him the ability to later on bounce that Ursula Deceiver again. Ursula Deceiver just giving you the ability to look at your opponent's hand and take a song from it. Becomes very relevant and powerful when you can recur it and do it multiple times in one match. We see Drew passing the turn after playing 2 Maleficents, drawing cards. Maleficent normally being used a lot of times to sing friends on the other side. Maleficent being a 3-drop and able to sing that card. Now we see a stronger target, friends on the other side, in Mooseberry's list of Ursula. A lot of these Ruby Amethyst decks during set 2 used Maleficent to sing that card, allowing you to net 3 cards off of those 2 cards played. Looks like these players are thinking, this being such a pivotal turn as both players are trying to establish a board state, trying to figure out the best lines. We know that Mooseberry has that Mother Knows Best, being able to bounce cards to his opponent's hand. May not be the best play in this situation. Sometimes you don't have any outs and that may be your best choice. Chooses to challenge with the Metamim Snake into the Metamim Fox and cast his Ursula Deceiver. This Ursula being such a great singer. We saw during game 1 giving Gooseberry 8 cards in 2 turns. And I misspoke earlier, it's Ursula, Deceiver of all. Not just the Deceiver, Deceiver of all. Really able to do so much. We see it taken care of though, as Drew plays another new card from Into the Inklands. Madame Medusa. When you play this character, banish chosen opposing character with 3 or less attack. Very similar to Lady Tremaine being at 6 uninkable. Lady Tremaine, though, when she ETBs, your opponent chooses which character they banish. Madame Medusa, you get to choose as long as it's 3 or less attack. Drew playing another Chernobog's Followers. Mooseberry trying to clean up the board a little bit by challenging with Metamim Snake and playing a Metamim Pot. There goes the double challenge. We'll see if he decides to bounce the snake back to hand in order to take the damage that was done to Metamim Fox. Mooseberry opting to play Ursula Deceiver to look at his opponent's hand, finding no songs. Never know when these Ruby Amethyst decks do have a song such as Friends on the Other Side or Be Prepared. Be Prepared being the bane of so many players, just able to wipe the board and really reset everything. Drew opting to quest with the Chernobog Followers and choosing to banish it, that way he can draw a card. Chernobog's Followers being one of the new inclusions in these Ruby Amethyst decks that we've seen. A second Madame Medusa, opting to banish the Ursula, that way it can't be recurred as we've seen from Gooseberry this game. Drew inking a Cusco and passing the turn back to Mooseberry. This game too has been really back and forth as both players are trying to gain card advantage and board state advantage. As we see with Drew having 7 lore to Mooseberry's 3, a big back and forth game by these two competitors. Mooseberry trying to determine what the best play for himself is. We saw Mooseberry in game 1 just having so many cards in his hand off of the Ursula Deceiver of All, singing Friends on the Other Side twice. This game we have yet to see that, leaving Mooseberry with less resources in his hands, facing down 2 Madame Medusas. Correct me, Twitch, if I'm wrong, but I believe Madame Medusa being from The Rescuers Disney film. Opting to bounce, using Madame M. Fox to challenge one of the Medusas. Making a big trade. A lot of back and forth in this game from Drew and Mooseberry as they try to gain as much advantage as they can. And here's Drew doing just that, playing Jim Hawkins from Treasure Planet, one of the new cards, able to play locations like RLS for free. RLS Legacy giving you 2 passive lore, having 8 toughness, gives every character on it evasive. If you have a character on it, it makes others moving to it 2 less to do. Jim Hawkins now being a 4/4 with evasive, able to quest for 2, really requiring a big answer from Mooseberry. We saw last game Mooseberry using 2 Madame Foxes in the same turn to take out that RLS. Jim Hawkins being just a new inclusion. There it is on there for the screen for you to see. Especially when he has evasive, becomes very strong. Another evasive character in Madame Mim Surfer. We now see 4 lore on the board available from evasive creatures. Mooseberry just reading the signs on the board, not able to find answers, decides to scoop it up. That way they can have enough time to play the 3rd game. What a great game from both Mooseberry and Drew. Very back and forth between the two. Really Jim Hawkins being a star at the end, really giving a solidified 2 lore quester on the board for Drew, allowing him to take away the game. Well, here we are going into round 3, game 3, Mooseberry versus Drew. Mooseberry appears to be playing his own Chernobog's followers. This card being able to quest and a May ability of banishing it when you quest in order to draw a card. It's almost like we're seeing a reversed game 2 as Drew plays his Rafiki. Mooseberry opting to quest and then banish his Chernobog followers. Rafiki just being quite a strong 1-drop with the ability to have Challenger 3 on a 0/2 and a great challenger against any hyena cards that we may see in the future. Mooseberry playing his Cursed Merfolk and passing it back to Drew. Cursed Merfolk able to quest for 2, and if challenged, discards a card from your opponent's hand. Very strong openings from both of these players. Trying to control the board as best they can. Drew decides to quest with that Rafiki. Rafiki from Mooseberry We'll see what happens on his side of the board. Mooseberry, questing with that Cursed Merfolk for 2, indeed plays that Madam Fox into the Rafiki from Drew's side of the board. Madam Fox just being a big bane for turn 3, never knowing whether or not your opponent has it or not. Drew opted to go ahead and use his Rafiki to draw, leaving him vulnerable to that turn 3 Madam Fox. Drew playing another Chernobog follower, this time on his side of the board. Mooseberry opting to ink the Queen's Castle, card that we saw him use earlier in the match. The Queen's Castle just giving you the ability to draw cards equal to the number of characters on it, along with 2 passive lore. Mooseberry also playing a Maleficent to draw a card. Now passes it back to Drew. Drew casting a new Prince. I had commented on this before, but Prince Eric not having very many cards during the first set, we see him here now, able to quest for 2, even though being a 2/2. But when he is banished, you may banish chosen character. Such a strong line, not just the character that challenged it, but any character. Prince Eric now being a bane to so many different card lines, as he is able to quest for 2, being hard to deal with unless you have characters that you are not worried about losing. Mooseberry here questing and then bouncing with Madam Fox. Mooseberry playing the Maleficent that he had bounced before with the snake, drawing himself a card, getting more resources in his hand, passes it over to Drew. Lots of cards from set 3 into the Inklands. We see that Prince Eric now becoming a singer of friend on their side, drawing Drew 2 more cards. Drew inks a Maleficent to cast a Jim Hawkins into the Queen's Castle. The Queen's Castle now being available to allow Drew to draw a card during his turn, essentially turns into a beast, but for Amethyst Ruby. Jim Hawkins now not having evasive, but is a 4/4 quester. Mooseberry having quested. Mooseberry at 9 to Drew's 2. Drew trying to find and stabilize during this match, while Drew is trying to maintain and build up his board state. Plays a Queen's Castle. This new location is seeing a lot of play from Amethyst players, as it can give you a large card advantage. Drew thinking about his turn. Characters on the board that a possible be prepared would be pretty nice. Uses a Merlin Crab to banish a Madam Fox and then get rid of a big quester on Mooseberry's side of the board and Cursed Merfolk, showing the power of Merlin Crab with a pumped up Prince Eric. Drew, not needing a be prepared, utilizes the cards in his hands to get rid of all of Mooseberry's boards besides the Queen's Castle. Mooseberry gaining that passive lore off of the Queen's Castle, going up to 11. Drew facing down the need to gain more lore and stabilize in the mid game as we enter into the late. Mooseberry having 7 lore available to him with 4 cards in hand. The Queen's Castle getting more and more strong as you have more characters on it, allowing you to draw cards for each of them. Mooseberry decides to play a Merlin Rabbit for 4, drawing himself a card. Opting to ink an Ursula Deceiver of All instead of play it. Trying to find the next best line for him in order to get the win. Decides to play a Madame Fox, challenging Drew's Madame Fox, who would have been a big challenger into the Queen. That's something about having a Madame Mim Foxes available. You never know when your cards are safe. Your opponent can always play a card to just have it be bounced, so that way the Madame Mim Fox can come in and rush. Jim Hawkins just being so strong, especially with the locations that you have. Opts to challenge the Queen. Bounce Jim Hawkins with the Fox in order to finish off the Queen's Castle. What a strong play by Drew. Able to utilize 2 cards to get rid of the Queen's Castle. And now we see a finisher in the Spellbook and Merlin Goat from Mooseberry, trying to just nickel and dime away with the lore. Mooseberry not having enough ink available in his inkwell to play both cards and use the Spellbook. Here's Jim Hawkins with another Queen's Castle coming into play. Jim Hawkins able to play locations for free when he enters the battlefield, or ETBs. Every upkeep will have Drew, he'll have the ability to draw a card. Trying to find more resources available to him to take care of Mooseberry's growing lore count. Mooseberry being at 14 lore now with Spellbook, 15 with Goat. Drew trying to find a way to take care of this Merlin Goat before it goes away, as well as Spellbook. For many Amethyst Ruby decks, Spellbook being a card that they cannot interact with very well. Plays huge, to first Merfolk, who quests for so much. First Merfolk questing for 2. With 15 lore on the board for Mooseberry, this may be the match. We'll see if Drew can draw into something that allows him to clear the board. Mooseberry having 2 draws as upkeep. Additionally, due to 2 characters being on the Queen's Castle, drawing a total of 3 cards this turn. Having 7 ink in his inkwell, Drew does have the ability to cast Be Prepared if he has it in hand. Size challenge with Merlin Fox and Goat. Looks like he was about to cast, but took it back. with a Madame Medusa play, targeting a cursed merfolk, able to get rid of one of them, leaving the other on the board, leaving Mooseberry with the ability to get up to 19. And there's the handshake from Mooseberry and Drew. What a great match here in round 3. Want to thank so much Mooseberry and Drew for playing. Mooseberry taking the win here in game 3.